Beyond Publishing annual virtual Christmas party and go live on LinkedIn. Let me just hit that. Thank you very much. And we're glad you're here from across the nation and around the world. There's Gloria. How are you, Gloria?
I'm doing very well, thank you. How are you?
Merry Christmas. We're glad you're here. Oh, it's good to see your face again. I was just so glad to get your email. And, you guys have been up, I say guys, generically, loosely, women, you ladies and guys, because I think we have 80% of our authors are women. So we'll see if the women are going to represent tonight. My wife may pop in and say hi a little bit later. She's her and my stepdaughter are flying to Korea in about 36 hours. So they've got some packing and things to do.
Wow.
Yes, indeed. Well, very, very much. I just want to say happy 2022. It's almost over. And it felt like it just blew by. I don't know. We were going to get a chance to meet everybody tonight. And people are tuning in on social media. You can feel free to comment on the Beyond Publishing fan page, my personal Facebook. We're streaming right here on Beyond Publishing. We're streaming on our nonprofit 1040 Impact, and we're just streaming everywhere. But everybody here has been up to some major things, some cool things. I think I want to start with Michael Hill because you were on the news in Louisiana. Michael, if you could hold up your book, The Best Views of Heaven Are From Hell, about your Uncle Roy.
Let me go get it.
You're going to go grab it. And I would say if y'all don't have your book laying by your chair there, by your desk, do grab it. I know Dr. Steve may not have Falling Asleep to the Sound of Rain. Dr. Steve, I went through my office today because we just got back from Thailand and Korea. And I realized that our last event in Dallas, we sold your book, and I sold the last copy, Falling Asleep to the Sound of Rain, but we're going to hear from you. Now, Michael Hill, you interviewed your Uncle Roy, who was a part of the Greatest Generation, the D-Day invasion of Normandy that ended World War II, and you just did a stellar job writing about it, and then you were on the news in Louisiana, and we're going to hear about this. We're going to go around and hear from everybody, actually, as people pop in. And there's Tom Black. But Michael Hill, The Best Views of Heaven Are From Hell, and you're right there in Conroe, Texas. Just kind of give us a 60 to 90-second synopsis, because you've been speaking, you were on the news, and you did a book signing, I think, at the Air Force Base, right?
Yeah, I was did a book signing at Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio and Barksdale in Bossier City, Louisiana, right next to Shreveport. The book is about
literally 5 minutes from Lackland right now. I live 5 minutes from Lackland, so I just you, brother. Good job, by the way. Good job. Really proud of you. How do you, authors that get interviewed, get on the news, and go speak, sell more books, how do you land those gigs?
It was a stroke of luck that I sent an email off to the local news station. I had actually been trying to get in touch with the local Shreveport Times, but nobody responded. And I was like, well, let me try the news. And I did a human interest email, and I met with Krista, and, it was a digital format. It wasn't necessarily on the news, but it's on their website. So it was sent out to everybody once they got everything done. And she was promoting it. I am grateful for that woman because she was promoting it as much as possible. So,
hey, what was your best Christmas ever, Michael? Over all your years, and I don't know how many years. I think you and I are about the same age, but what was your best Christmas ever?
Unfortunately, I don't remember a lot of my Christmases just because of 6 head injuries in my life. So I think it's just the ones that I do remember is when my grandmother's side of the family were with us growing up in South Carolina. So when my dad remarried, I was the youngest of 6. My grandparents lived with us, 10 people in the house. And then we had all my aunts and uncles. So we would be 20 plus in the house. And my grandmother and grandfather would start up cooking at like 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. And by 1 o'clock, we're eating. And yeah, that's where my love of cooking came from. So that's
right.
And it wasn't necessarily about the gifts that we got, but it was just, you got to be around everybody and, you learned everything. So
That's awesome. Hey, listen, I think if we were to look at the room and say who has traveled the furthest, let me get rid of my comment so we can see who's here, is we're glad you're here. This is a very Merry Christmas from Beyond Publishing, all the way from New Zealand. The author of Farewell, Sarah Ross, is in the house. How you doing, Sarah? Thank you, Michael. That was awesome.
Hello. I'm not sure if anybody can hear me. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Good morning.
Hey.
Good afternoon.
How is everybody?
Good evening.
It's extremely hot here in New Zealand today. 28 degrees.
Hey, Moo Young saying hi. You get to see my wife for a couple minutes tonight. She's going to pop in. Moo Young's here, and she's packing for Korea. But I tell you, she really enjoyed seeing you and Conan in Dallas, and we're so glad you're able to come. So Farewell, we're targeting. This is a book about grief, and you lost both of your parents within a short amount of time. And like you told us in the studio in Dallas, you decided to turn this around and decide, instead of be a victim, you said, I'm going to help people that are going through grief and grief recovery of all ages. And then you basically embedded a workbook into Farewell. Have you got a copy you can hold up for us?
Oh, my copies are inside. I'm sorry about that, but I have something cooler to show you today.
Okay. What you got?
These here are wooden Christmas decorations. And what happens with these decorations is that people during December who are missing their loved ones, they write their message to their loved one and they send me the message, and I write the message on a piece of wood. And then on Christmas Eve, we burn all the wood so that the messages can be passed over. So it has been a busy few days writing lots of messages. We've had lots of messages come in from America. And the only reason I know they're from America is because they spell mum with an O.
Instead of what are you, huh? Wow. I want to go around and greet everyone. And so we were kind of trying to do the order people popped on, but I also want to hear from the ladies. So I think we'll start with our ladies and skip around a bit. We heard from Michael Heel in Conroe, Texas by Houston about his book. And Gloria Rand, your book, Live, Love, Engage. Is that the name of it?
That's the name of it. See, right there.
So glad you're here. What have you been doing this year? I know, when did you actually launch Live, Love, Engage?
It's actually going to be 2 years in February. So yeah, it came out in 2021. But yeah, I'm actually starting a new book I've been working on, and it's kind of goes not exactly along with Live, Love, Engage, but that in that book I talk about my sister and her journey with cancer. Well, she actually had published a blog while she was going through treatment, and so I'm going to put her blog articles and then what I was going through at the same time together. So I'm putting that together. So, but it's probably going to be a few more months before I can get it done. But
now I know when you launched the book, you did a lot of speaking, you did a lot of podcasts. How many podcast episodes have you done?
Well, for my own show, it's several hundred now, but yeah, it was interesting. I was actually putting a bunch of them on my YouTube playlist today. I was finding interviews that I have done on various podcasts, but yeah, I've been on probably dozens and dozens of podcasts over the last few years. So it's a great way to be able to share the message about the book, and I have a lot of fun talking with people.
Well, you're going to meet people even tonight that should be on your podcast. You're going to meet people tonight who should have you on their podcast because you've got a similar, complementary message. And what is so beautiful about writing books and what we do here is you get to meet people. You're going to hear from Charla, who spent her life as a corporate attorney. She rubbed shoulders with people like Gloria Allred, and then she retires and becomes a children's author. And she lives on a farm in Frogville, Oklahoma, population 12. And she's doing exciting things. But before we go to Charla, I want to go up to Dr. Steve Ahmed. And hopefully Tom can join us. Tom's a funny guy because he's got 11 grandkids. And so sometimes he's on grandkid duty. so that somebody doesn't get in the street, or he's normally pitching baseballs to them. But Dr. Steve, your book, Falling Asleep to the Sound of Rain, and I'm going to bring up the banner here in a second, but you didn't grow up in the U.S. You're an immigrant here. You came here, and your very first job was sweeping the street in New York City, which was very humbling. You had your medical degree. You had been to university. You were practicing medicine, but you're sweeping streets. And your entire life has been about inspiring people. And what's the book about? Tell us your story.
Well, the story I want to tell in the right time, uh, but life sometimes doesn't give you the right time. And I thought when I retire, I have more time. I can have recollection of all the events in my life. But this happened so quick that I was diagnosed with a stage 4 pancreatic cancer. I was given 3 months to live, and that was March of 2021, and during the COVID, and I was all alone in this whole process. So I thought the best thing I can do is, at least before I die, I convey the message that don't judge the book by the cover, because there's always a story. Always a story. There's always a struggle. You never reach to the highest level just because you're there. So I don't want to brag about things, but the thing is that you start with the sweeping the street to reach to the top 1% of the country if you work hard. And the only country in the world you can do that is our country. I'm biased about that. You can do this in USA, and I did that. Uh,
You've
our
done that. You're one of the top pediatricians in the world. You practice in Texas and Big Spring, Texas. And of course, right now, for those that can't tell, you're there at the Mayo Clinic in. I want to be sure I get this right. The Mayo Clinic right there in Houston, right?
No, I am at the MD Anderson,
Okay.
which is #1 cancer hospital in the world, and I'm in their bone marrow transplant unit, which is the top-notch bone marrow unit in the world. That's a 24-story building just for the bone marrow, donated by somebody from Middle East. And this unit is run where people who have money or people don't who have money, they can equally treated with the equal opportunity. Okay. And they do a lot of trials. So the trial which I'm entered in, because I failed all the treatments, so pancreatic cancer is not treatable. Even Steve Jobs died. So what they're doing, they are putting some cells in my body, and if they work, they can cure the pancreatic cancer. And if it does that, I will be the first person in the world opening up the doors for the rest of the public, the rest of the population.
That's
Wow.
a beautiful, beautiful thing. So applause, big shout out, applause to Steve there. That's that's powerful. So you're one of the top pediatricians in the world. You've helped so many kids. In your book, I've got your book up here. I want everybody to go to Amazon and bookmark this. And when I do the follow-up email tomorrow to everybody, I'm going to feature all of you that were here and that spoke. And I want everybody to go on either the Beyond Publishing fan page or my personal Facebook or on the Beyond Publishing group, and leave a comment about what impacted you most tonight. Saturday and Sunday, we're going to do a special on Steve's book. Is we're going to run it for free. And the reason we're going to do that is I want you to go download the ebook of Falling Asleep to the Sound of Rain. I want you to download it, scroll through it, and then I want you to leave Steve a 5-star review on Amazon. And I'll send you a video exactly on how to do that. It's going to help the Google Juice and the Amazon algorithms pick that up. And then we've got the audio book launching any day it goes live. It's all been submitted. What did you want to say to that, Steve?
Michael, thank you for everything. I just want to add in to the audience one thing. The proceeds of this book, forever now on, will be donated to MD Anderson Research. So I already talked to people here. I just need to do the logistic done. So every dollar which comes from this book will be donated to MD Anderson Research. And if I live long enough, I will write equal amount of check donation to MD Anderson. So say if you sell book for $1,000, I'll write additional $1,000 to MD Anderson for research.
That's awesome. That's
Wow.
awesome. Well, I tell you, look at there. Michael Hill says you rock. So you do rock. So I agree, Steve. Thank you so much. Your story's so inspiring. It was great conversing with your daughter. Now, how old are you? I mean, I won't say how old are your kids, but you have a couple grandkids, right? How old are your grandkids?
I have one grandkid, and I was just now talking to him, and he's 14 months old, and he was trying to grab my nose from the phone so that he can grab me out, and he keeps telling me, please, please. It means he wants me to come out of the phone so I can play with him.
That's just awesome. Well, I believe we're going to hear good things, and it's been inspiring to me, to Tom, and the entire team at Beyond Publishing to see you so courageously continue to work and be there for your family and do amazing things. So, Dr. Steve, we're going to send this out to everybody in the follow-up email. Falling asleep to the sound of rain. These are stories for his children and grandchildren. It's very moving, very touching, from the immigrant life and then your journey, and just passing on a legacy. It's what we all want. I'm 54 and I have 4 kids and 2 grandsons, 4 grown sons and 2 grandsons. And I'm just a nerd kid from Oklahoma who grew up with my library card maxed out. And Steve, I relate to you sweeping those streets in New York. I mean, I've worked every job there is, from sanitation to Ubering to starting my own and running my own $1 million janitorial company that I sold, to you name it, I did it. I mean, I can remember donating blood when I was in college just so I could, feed my kids. So it's been inspiring to watch what you do. And when we hear the stories of these immigrants, we got, Olga. I see Olga here from Estonia. We're going to hear from her in a minute. And I hear stories every day about people that overcame so much. I'll hear a story and think, wow, she overcame so much. And then I'll hear from somebody else and be like, wow, that was even different from a different country with a different circumstance. And they overcame so much. So we're going to give you some free things tonight. When I do the follow-up email, you're going to get Dr. Steve, Falling Asleep to the Sound of Rain ebook. You can download it for free. I want you to give him a review. It'll help spike the Amazons. And then also Powerful Female Immigrants. We're making that available for free as well. But I want to go to Charlotte Frost because I mentioned her and because I think she's done the most, apart from Tom Black, who's done 30 books with us of his own books. And we're going to hear about Honeymoon. In fact, I'm going to give away some Honeymoon and Harry Moons tonight. This is Honeymoon Scary Little Christmas. And this is just in time for Christmas. I'm going to mail this to your house. If you have an 8 to 11-year-old girl or boy in your family, 8 to 11-year-old, right there at the Frogville age, right? The Charlotte Frost age. That's the age. We're gonna tell you how you can get your free copies here. Basically, what you'll do, here's a little hint. How many of you have ever left a Google review on Google? You go to a restaurant, you have a good time, you leave a review. Or let's say maybe you have a bad experience and you leave a bad review, right? So one way where you're going to get a free Christmas gift for your grandkids or your kids tonight or a friend is to leave us a Google review, and that's going to be awesome. I'll show you in a minute how to do that. But speaking of reviews, Charlotte Frost, I think, has got 35 or more reviews on her Frogville books on Amazon. Now it may be definitely the leaderboard, definitely the top 3 of Beyond Publishing authors. You may be the leader. I'm going to check that, and I'll notify you in the email tomorrow. But high-powered corporate attorney, you went into because your uncle. What was your uncle's advice, Charlotte, about going into law when you asked his advice?
It was actually not an uncle. He was my dad's close friend and the only lawyer I knew. Yeah, I had an aunt who told me to avoid going to law school. She had been a legal secretary, and she said I shouldn't go to law school. Lawyers didn't have friends. So I didn't have any math skills, and I wanted to do something with life. And I had a high school principal who told me I was not going to be a secretary, which was my plan, that I was going to have a secretary. So the rest of it's sort of history from there. But I was fortunate to have a successful legal career, and I did a lot of trial work, and trial lawyers are storytellers. And a friend of mine introduced me to Michael in early 2020, right after I had retired and was twiddling my thumbs trying to decide what I was going to do with my life. And he of mine introduced me to Michael in early 2020, right after I'm getting feedback.
Maybe you've got two.
Decide what I was going to do with my life. And he of mine introduced me to Michael.
Let me see.
All right.
I think I fixed it, Charlotte. Go ahead. Or we may come back to you.
Yeah, I don't know what the problem is, but yeah.
I think we're good. I think Ron had a microphone issue, so he'll just come back.
Okay.
Hey, I want to ask you a question, Charlotte, because
Sure.
3 books in the children's series. Your first book, Power at the Table, it's being used as a textbook in law firms to help particularly female authors negotiate their way at the table and the ownership and the equity positions in those law firms. So good for you. That's the book you wanted when you got out of law school and you wrote it. So good
Right.
for you on that. But you recently did a book signing in Frogville, and you're doing stuff. You're speaking to kids. What do you kind of see as the ebb and flow with the Power at the Table, your lawyer book for other law firms, and then you've got this children's series? How will you package, brand yourself, market yourself?
I tell people that if you have power at the table, you can have the luxury of writing children's books. So that's sort of the segue. I find that people really like the children's books. I do get great feedback on the Power at the Table book, and have been lucky to have a number of podcast interviews. And I just did a live speech in San Francisco that was centered on the book. I called it Set Your Own Table, and we used the book as an overview on what people ought to be doing. But I have
exciting. Yeah. You were speaking in Silicon Valley.
I was, yeah.
Your children's books have opened the door for you to be a headliner in Silicon Valley.
Yeah, who would have thought? But it's been fun, and we've published the first children's book in 2021. We did the second one in 2022, and we're scheduled to do the third one on International Frog Day, which is March 20th of 2023.
You know, I'm so excited and looking forward to that date. That's just 3 days after my wife's birthday, which is on St. Patrick's Day, so I never forget her birthday. My wife and I are yet to spend a Christmas together. We will not be together this Christmas. It's sad news. It's breaking news. More on that in a minute. But did anybody wear an ugly Christmas sweater? We want to acknowledge you right now. Can I see? Hold your hand up. I got to tell you, we ordered ugly Christmas light bulbs for our necklaces, and they didn't come in time. So I spared you that. Charlotte, what's been the funnest thing? One thing I noticed about you was when you speak to kids, you wear green because Frogville. And
right.
What's been kind of the funnest part of this journey?
For the first speech that I did to a class of second graders, who, by the way, knew an awful lot more about literature and book structure than I did at that age. We made handmade stuffed frogs. In fact, hold on a second. I'll show you a lily frog.
Yes. See, authors, you always want to show up, if not with your book, at least your book, but also your prop that accompanies your book. She's got swag.
Yeah.
This is Lily?
This is Lily, yeah. My sister made them for me and embossed the name on the side. They were way too much work to do them for everything, but they were a great giveaway for the first one, and they were a lot of fun. So the kids absolutely loved them.
I tell you, nothing makes a brand go viral more than swag. So think about, depending on what age group you're writing for, how you can incorporate swag into what you're doing, particularly for children. And if you're going to scale it, I mean, we've got companies that can help you scale it, that mass produce it. I mean, hopefully not made in China, maybe made in China, but hey, we can make it in the USA, right? We'll get it there too. So that's exciting. Here's an idea, guys, and I want to talk about this. Here's the thing I want to say. Christmas time, you can gift your books. Gift your books. You know, I saw Pastor Ron a minute ago. He's got a new book. Hopefully he pops back in. Gift your book. He actually gifted me the first copy and signed it for me. Here's hardcover book, Reign of Grace. This is based on a series of sermons his mentor and pastor did. And he I think he's like 95 now, is the pastor that the sermons came from. And Pastor Ron co-wrote the book with him. And so hopefully he'll pop back in and share this. But Ron sent me a copy. So always be gifting your books. I love this time of year because I love to gift books, and I love to gift them in the Chamber of Commerce and insurance agents and mortgage and realtors and everybody like that. I love to gift books to people that are putting together gift baskets. And you might say, well, that's a $20 book or that's a $10 book. But I look at it like, hey, that's marketing. You know, and if you did like we do in a lot of our books now, we mark it in the back, and we've got book 2, 3, book 4, book 5. It's all in there. So I want to hear from Olga, powerful female immigrant. This was such a fun journey, Olga. Your chapter is included in here. You and your husband from Estonia. You're right there in Dallas, Texas. We met, and you're part of the powerful female immigrants, which this book has really gone viral. 24 women from 19 nations shared their story and came together in Dallas, Texas. And I got the opportunity to interview them all. And they're from everywhere, from Korea to South Africa to Iran. And you're from Estonia. We had Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Russia, just everywhere. It was a fun time. Olga, what would you say this time of the year? What has the book done for you? Has it created some friendships? And then going into 2023, how do you plan on parlaying this into business?
Well, every time you have to write about yourself, you have to kind of get that, dive deep into your life and kind of, reorganize and put it all together and kind of relive all of the events of your life with a completely different point of view from when you were actually in the moment. And it becomes very interesting to figuring out, how did you get to where you're at right now?
Yeah.
And, with all of the women and a lot of, I've been part of a different project where it involves immigrants. And we all have the same thing that we all say, that is only possible in this country.
Yeah.
Anybody who does not understand the greatness of this country, they have to stop and rethink, because this country is just amazing to its people, amazing to people who come to this country, people who speak or don't speak the English, trying to learn the language, trying to learn the culture. And this is really beautiful country with God's love and God's grace available for everyone here.
You got some major media recently. You were on the Glenn Beck show, and I know you've been speaking everywhere. You've been doing some amazing things. You and your husband host a traditional business of basically, what is it you do exactly? Remind me. It's like,
well, we do emergency responses for fires, water, hail, tornadoes, things like that. Usually it's Sunday, 3:00 in the morning.
That's great. That's great. So, we're doing a second powerful female immigrants. I told you, right?
No, I didn't.
I'm going to give you more information on that, because I want to invite you to be a part of this one again. I think, Steve, I need to find, after hearing you speak, and the reason we started with women, there were so many women who had these stories. And since women read 90% of the books and write 90% of the books, we started with women. Actually, 2 women from Armenia, Lisa and Luisa, gave me this idea. And so I thanked them in the book. They're actually a part of this book, and they were going to try to join us tonight. And so it was just a beautiful idea to bring women together. And this has opened up so many doors and so many conversations. We've had our women get together in Los Angeles, in Dallas, in New York recently, even in other countries. Our women, because they're mobile, they're doing things, they're hosting their own conferences. Dr. Emily Letran, last week we hosted a Christmas party for the powerful female immigrants, and literally we had 6 of our immigrants that were part of this book that were hosting their own conferences. From Phoebe to Dr. Emily, Ina was speaking at one of the conferences. It was just amazing. Dr. Wah. And so just really proud of all the women. So what you can do Saturday and Sunday, and this will be in the follow-up email tomorrow, is you can go click, in addition to getting Falling Asleep to the Sound of Rain by Dr. Steve for free, so you can download it and leave him a review, is you can do the same with Powerful Female Immigrants, okay? And so we love hearing your story. We love hearing from you. Here's what I want you to think about. I, as the youngest child growing up on the farm in Oklahoma, I had a unique job. You know, everybody on the farm had a job. My job was to be the antenna. Okay, so families watching, and I see Charla laughing. Maybe she can relate a little to that. So, you know, we got 2 channels. They were both black and white, and I had to get the aluminum foil, and I had to stand, 36 degrees north, northeast, no turn a little to the southwest, and which is one reason I thought about going into meteorology, Michael, because I thought, you know what, I could be a meteorologist. I'm practically a weather vane right now. And actually, my grandfather, another story, grew up in Oklahoma. He got struck twice by lightning, lived to tell about it, and lived to be 88 or 90 years old. But I knew right then that I was going to be involved in media because I was channeling the message. And what happened when we went from 2 TV channels to 500 channels to 5,000 and everybody's streaming, everybody started screaming. And this year, the numbers are in. 75% of all consumed content is from live video. Cable networks are going out of business. Analog television's over with. And the future of connecting with people is going live online. I mean, we do it with our family, right? With FaceTime and with WhatsApp. So getting really comfortable with grabbing your book, going live with your book once a day, once a week. I was telling people, Dee, 20 years ago, I was telling people from Kentucky to Tennessee to Conroy, I was saying, listen, you want to think like a movie producer. I don't want you just to think like an author. I don't want you just to think like a movie producer. I want you to think like a studio. I want you to think like Paramount Pictures, because the future is syndication. The future is over-the-top television. It's streaming on-demand television. And if you have a message that you want to get out, that's the way you're going to get that message out to the world. Dennis Madden, you've been here. I think you were the first one here, you and Dr. Steve. I tell you, you're right there in Las Vegas, your new book, High Rev for Small Business. You got a copy you can hold up, man. We want to hear it. We want to see it. This tactometer, not everybody puts a tactometer on the front of there. Am I saying that right, Dennis? What's it called? Turn up your mic. We can't hear you, brother. Unmute that mic. We want to hear from you.
There we go.
There you go.
I was saying,
so you can see it, Dennis.
I dressed for the Christmas party.
Oh, there you go. You and Michael Hill and Charlotte, you got red on. You're looking blingy. You got it.
Yeah.
Festive.
So there it is.
High Rev for Small Business. Now, you co-wrote this book with Jim Cathcart, who is one of our authors, who's authored 23 books. I was hoping Jim could join us tonight. He maybe got tied up. Big announcement with Jim, so I'm not going to steal his thunder. Big announcement with Jim, but let's just say, I don't know if you've heard any of the news from Jim, but the older Jim gets, he's like a good wine. He gets better with age. He keeps coming up with great stuff. So, Dennis, you did this book with Jim. You were out there launching it, speaking it in the middle of moving from California to Las Vegas. What's the book about? What's it doing for you? And then I'm going to find out, missed a couple of you on this. What was your favorite Christmas?
Oh, what was my favorite Christmas? Everything good from my childhood happened at 8 years old. At least that's the way I say it. So when I'm telling my wife a story, I really don't know what age I was. I always just say, when I was 8 years old.
Yeah.
But I remember Christmases from that age. They were wonderful. We had lots of family come over.
I got to tell you mine. I remember specifically, I was like 7 or 8 years old. And, we had some Christmases when I got older that were big, where my parents spent some money on us and stuff like that. Got me a guitar. That was one of my favorite, age 12. But I think my favorite Christmas was age 7. I was thinking about this today because I got to tell you, this Christmas tree went up in September. And the reason this Christmas tree went up in September is my wife and I got married in October, and she helped me decorate the house and everything. We got married in October. She literally moved into my house when I was speaking at a conference in California, but she came over and I said, you know what, let's set up the Christmas tree in September, because when I come back the day before the wedding, we're not going to want to set up the Christmas tree and go on a honeymoon. And so when we got back from our honeymoon, the Christmas tree was already up. But what we did that year when I was 7, Dennis, is we decorated the Christmas tree with popcorn. And I thought that was the coolest thing. Anybody ever done that? Mm-mm. So that was just the coolest thing. I thought, looking back, and I realized later, Mom and Dad were pinching pennies. We didn't get a very big Christmas that year, but my brother and I had so much fun. Popcorn fights, eating popcorn, making a mess. We just had just a great, memorable time. So Dennis, High Rev for small business. This is your market. You've been in the aftermarket, automotive aftermarket, and you and Jim specifically are targeting this book into that niche. What's the plan going into 2023? How do you plan to really exploit that space?
Well, I'm not sure about that. I'm so excited about my new venture. I might be switching tracks onto something else. But to answer your question in terms of this book, how it came about, and things of that nature, maybe you didn't ask, but I'll fill it in. You're right.
Good answer. Did everybody take notice on that? That's the politician answer. So tell us, Mr. and Mrs. Politician, what is your platform on XYZ? Well, in chapter 8 of my book, I talk about ABC. Good job, Dennis. Go ahead.
A lot of this came about from simply observing businesses. I've probably, and as you mentioned, I'm in automotive, specifically transmission repair. So I ran for over 20 years a trade association for transmission shop owners. And I used to work on cars in my 20s and rebuild transmissions. But in this capacity, I've visited several hundred shops, and it didn't matter what city it was. I could find a business that was doing gangbusters while right down the street and around the corner was another business that was about to go out of business. Every single city was like that. And so it really became a matter of observing what the successful people were doing and then discovering that it applies to every business. So we use a lot of automotive metaphors, and the idea is incremental improvement, not drastic things, but it's like racing. It's having a race where you're consistently doing better than the rest of the people. You may not be the fastest, but you're the most consistent. Going into the pits, your staff are the best trained, and there's a lot of other things in there as well. But a lot of it was
kind of in the matrix with some audio issues, so I'm going to bring you out of the matrix, and it's really glad to have you here. I'm going to link you guys too, and here's what I would say. Include your, there's a private chat, or you could go on my Facebook or the Beyond Publishing Facebook page and leave your Instagram, leave your website, leave your contact information, or you could do it in our private chat here tonight. So I want to get to Dee Dee. Dee Dee, you're kind of in the dark. Dee Dee is one of our top authors. She's got 8 books, And I tell you, from Stolen Roses to bring us up to speed, you got Midnight. Oh my gosh. Edie, we can't see you. Are you with us?
Yes, I am. I am driving, so that's why you can't see me, but I can listen to you guys. Merry Christmas to everyone.
Merry Christmas
Merry
to you.
Christmas.
It's great to hear your voice from Rooster Run, Kentucky. Mr. Mistletoe is your latest book. Before that, it was Don't Forget Me. Now, for somebody that's been a serial romance author, you did a quick turn last 2 months ago with Don't Forget Me. You and two other authors co-authored a book about really dementia as it related to your family members. Tell us about that.
Well, when my mother was diagnosed 3 years ago, there has never been anyone in my family to have been diagnosed with dementia Alzheimer's. So this was new for a lot of our family members, and we began doing research on our own because working in medical malpractice, we have the research capabilities to Google anything. So we started Googling and started noticing things about Mama. And then my sister and I had to make some very quick decisions about estate planning, estate administration, about her quality versus quantity, quantity versus quality. So many doctors, so many opinions, and what it boils down to is how you take care of your loved one. And then I found out when I was at my 40th class reunion that several others had gone through the same thing. And so two of my best friends from first grade to 12th grade said we need to write a book about it. And so we sat down one day, not too long, it would be about a year ago, when we sat down together and we talked about all the different things that had taken place with their loved ones. One had lost his daddy. Another one, her daddy is going through it. And then our mother, the different things that my sister and I were experiencing. And then we thought there's more than just us, and there is. And so we put out a little Facebook post to all our family, friends, and loved ones and said, share your story. And there are 38 authors, 38 stories, all true of, I guess you can say, the journey that we're all on, taking care of the loved one who has dementia and trying to understand their world. And the reason it's called Don't Forget Me, my mama looked at me and she said, I know something's wrong. She said, no matter what, don't forget me. Don't forget the person who I was, because this is not me. And so I made that promise to her, and we called it that. Don't forget me.
I love that. I love that, Dee Dee. Dee Dee Cox, Rooster Run, Kentucky, Louisville, Lexington. How many book shows and book signings did you do this year?
Oh, in 2022, we started in April when Midnight Moon debuted, and God blessed us. Lord have mercy. We did October, November. We did 10. Different festivals, the different book signings, oh my gosh, we did that Joseph Beth Booksellers in Lexington, one of the largest. And I actually got to meet the author. She's got a Netflix movie that her book was based on, and it's Stranger Things, I think, is what her book is called, and that's what it's called on Netflix. She was there. And so we got to talking about different things. But I would say from April until just last week, as a matter of fact, I've done 15 different events with the books, with the debuts, and speaking to several doctors, speaking to nursing homes about dementia and how they can help our loved ones, because our loved ones are locked in any type of facility. They are in a special lane or a special wing, and you have to have a special code to get in because they do wander.
It's so heartbreaking with COVID when so many elderly people were separated from their family. I really love the work you're doing. You really inspire me. Now, speaking of movies, you've been working hard on a couple movies. Do you want to give us a quick update? Then there's something going on in Memphis, Tennessee. I tell you what, Charlotte Frost wins this year's Amazon review contest. How do you do that, Charlotte? Do you just ask for reviews all the time? Then I'll come back to you, Dee Dee.
Yes, I ask all of my friends and family, and I tell them that I need the reviews because that's how the logarithm promotes your book. I can't really tell that Amazon is promoting my book, but Hope Springs Eternal. And
I will deliver them coal for in your will instead of, you'll write them out of the will and they'll get coal instead of gifts from you.
Exactly.
Yes. That's good. So ask for it. And so Dee Dee Cox, when I interviewed Dee Dee, because Dee Dee holds the record every year of the most book signings, pretty much in all of Beyond Publishing combined, until Eric Swanson came along and his authors with 13 Steps to Riches, because he's doing 13 books with us, and then another 10 books, and then another 3 books, and then another 3 books with another series. So he's doing like 25 books. And, these books get addictive, and that's what's so exciting. And when you said movies and you said Stranger Things, I know you've got movie things. We got Siobhan here, and she's in the Atlanta area. She's in Atlanta. So she's your neighbor to the south of Kentucky. And I tell you, her book, Ugly Duckling, I mean, that's got movie written all over it, as does a lot of you have opportunities for movies. And I think if you're open to it, what I'd love to do between now and the first of the year, or the first week of the first of the year, is bring in a couple experts from Hollywood that could give us insight and feedback and pointers on how to get your book into a screenplay and into a movie. Who would be interested in that? Would that be fun? Raise your hand, Dennis. I mean, high rev for small biz. Somebody's going to produce that show, right? That's Dee Dee, what's the latest? Which books are you turning into movies first?
My biggest goal is the one that has been the bestseller and will probably always be my bestseller, which is Stolen Roses. And that is based on my upbringing in Rooster Run and on the farm and different things. I apologize. I can't put myself on camera because I am driving and I'm listening to you guys.
Thanks for being safe, because even if you had one of these, I wouldn't want you to do what I do going down the freeway at 90 miles an hour. I just don't do that anymore, because the older I get, the smarter I get.
No.
And, good for you.
Stolen Roses is actually in screenplay. Jeff Day from Lucky Day Studios, who Hallmark movie called Midway to Love. We just finished the pitch deck. We spent a month on the pitch deck, so we now have a new pitch deck. We have 2 budgets. We have a pitch deck for one budget, a pitch deck for another budget, and then we have the A-listers for the female artists. And so now I'm learning about the distribution. We have secured distribution. Now I have to secure the funding. And then I've learned that Kentucky is amazing. We have a 30% tax incentive. And
Kentucky's amazing, but I tell you what, Georgia's amazing as well. And you might want to link arms with Siobhan, because Siobhan, pop in your information there in the private chat. I put KentuckyRomanceAuthor.com. Check Dee Dee out, because before Dee Dee had her website up, Kentucky Romance Author pointed to her Amazon page. And I'm going to send you a note tomorrow in the follow-up email about a vanity URL. For those of you that don't have a website up yet, it's okay, promote. So I've got a website. It's called meetmichaeld.com. And if you go to meetmichaeld.com, in fact, everybody just go to meetmichaeld.com right now, and you can see what I've got up. I would love for you to go there and see what I've got up. Meetmichaeld.com is a landing page. And do me a favor, Siobhan, if you could hyperlink it with HTTP and make it easier for everybody to click, like I did with Dee Dee's, and follow. I want everybody following everybody, and I'm going to make sure everybody's added to the Beyond Publishing group, because we're up to 1,600 authors now in the Beyond Publishing group. And my wife is going to be in Korea for the next 3 weeks. Please say a prayer for my stepdaughter, Hobie. She had 2 brain surgeries in the last 2 weeks, and she's got a long road to recovery. She's 26 years old, and we're praying for the best. And but my wife and my other stepdaughter are going to go see her for the next 3 weeks, leaving Saturday. So I'm going to have some extra time. So jump on my calendar and let's talk about 2023. Let's strategize. Let's strategize about your next book. Let's strategize about how to get you onto media. Let's strategize. I'm really good at helping people figure out how to get into media, because it all comes down to your pitch and who we're going to pitch and what story we're going to lead with. Because if you're going to get into the news media, you want to bring something to the listener. You want to bring something to the viewer. You don't just want to show up and pitch your book, even though that's what you want to do. I'm going to show you how to pitch your book without them thinking you're pitching your book, but by actually showing value. So I'll give you an example. My first book I wrote was Single Dad's Survival Guide. And during the pandemic, NBC Palm Springs, in fact, Michael, didn't you do a TV interview out in Palm Springs? Or was that just in Louisiana so far? You're muted. I know you got lots.
Sorry about that. I was at the Palm Springs Air Museum when they were having
All the
their,
book signing there.
Book signing. They're having a POWMI Remembrance event.
You're in the matrix too with that mic. That mic normally works, but it's kind of funky right now. So I was thinking of our mutual friend Thalia, because Thalia interviewed me at NBC Palm Springs. She says, I need a story for kids going back to school after the pandemic. Do you got anything? And authors, you always say, yes. Yes, I do. Because you know what? You might pull something out of thin air. I had Fox Radio call me when Elon Musk first said he's thinking about buying Twitter, and they said, we need a story on this. Do you got anything? And I said, yes, I'm a free speech advocate. I'm a free speech advocate. What makes you a free speech advocate? Well, we've published 705 books in the last 6 years, authors in 33 countries, and I believe in free speech. So I'll get on there and talk about Elon Musk buying Twitter. And so that was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun doing 9 radio shows starting at 4:30 a.m. when you're in Colorado Springs, and 4:30 a.m. comes much quicker there. So the point was with Thalia, NBC in Palm Springs said, I need a story about kids going back to school. And I said, yeah, I wrote a book called The Single Dad Survival Guide. And I said, when kids are young and going through instability, what they need is they need tradition, ritual, and stability. So even though they're going back and forth to mom and dad's, or they're going back to school and doing Zoom and going back to whatever, you want to build some tradition into their life. So you always want, as an author, to have the answer. So Siobhan's got a book coming out that's a fiction book called Ugly Duckling. And I want to hear from Siobhan in Atlanta. And Siobhan Reed, welcome to our annual virtual Christmas party and Beyond Publishing. I think you're one of our newest authors here. So welcome. Well, I was speaking at the National Speakers Association right before my honeymoon, and you were one of the ladies on there that hired us. And it wasn't because I was so epic. Maybe I was so epic that day. I was on the top of my A game, and you wanted to do a book. I think it was just timing. You said, I'm ready to do this book. So how long had you been thinking about doing a book?
Oh my gosh, since I graduated college, because I studied journalism in college, and I just knew when I graduated, I went to go work for the AJC, which is one of the top dailies in America. And I was like, okay, I need to write a book. I want to write a book. And I've been thinking about it. I've written out all these different outlines and different topics that I wanted to cover.
Yeah. This
one was the one that, was always popping up in my head and my heart. And I was like, oh my gosh, I got to get this book written.
Yes. So, we talked about fiction or nonfiction. And what was it for you that says, hey, I'm going to do fiction?
Well, because it gives me the creative license to just explore a little bit, embellish the story, just so that people can really get the idea and the concepts, and really to just kind of have more aspirational tone and inspiration that can really drive home the points that I want in the story, and just be able to amplify the different characters and make them more of the ideal or less ideal character, so that they can, be interesting and entertaining, because who doesn't want to be entertained?
That's exactly right. What was your very best Christmas you remember?
My very first best Christmas that I remember is when I was 5 years old, and I received this Barbie with a collapsible bedroom. So it had a fold-out desk, a fold-out bed, and she had this very gorgeous hot pink dress with the purple lining on the end, and it's just so elegant and lovely. And I just thought that it made me just feel so proud and of who I was, and I just really enjoyed it, and I got to take it with me everywhere I went. So that was one of my most memorable.
Beautiful, 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 beautiful. I think that was during my GI Joe years. My brother and I used to fight over GI Joes and big Jim camper sets and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I tell you, that stuff was durable. It lasted forever. I think I finally sold it in the garage sale before I went to college or something. I mean, still have that stuff.
Right.
Now, Race is here from New. Are you in New York or Florida tonight? Hey, Race, good to see you. Powerful female immigrants. So glad you're here with us tonight. Originally from. Let's see if your mic's working. We want to hear from you. Thanks for
You're talking to me?
Yeah. Can you say hi to us?
Yes, hello. Hi.
Great
I
to
just
see you.
decided to pop in very shortly.
You're in
Yes.
real estate. I think you're in New York, right?
New Jersey, yes. New
New
York, New
Jersey.
Jersey. Yes.
Oh my goodness. I want to introduce you to Ken Van Loo, who's going to be here tonight. Have I introduced you to Ken Van Loo yet?
No.
Oh my goodness. He's a real estate titan in New Jersey. We just launched Dirt, Work Hard, Play Harder, Buy Dirt. And he was going to join us tonight, and I'm going to connect you with him. In fact, you can actually go to kenvanloo.com, connect with him. There's a lot of cool things you guys can do together. He does syndication and all kinds of fun stuff and puts deals together, multifamily and fun stuff like you're doing. You're doing real estate all over. And so being a part of this, you brought your daughter, you came down to Dallas, powerful female immigrants. Now remind me, it's Uzbekistan's where you're from, right?
Yes, Uzbekistan.
Okay. And the book. Now, have you met some amazing women since being in the book?
You mean amazing women from the book?
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
other
absolutely.
women?
Absolutely.
Both.
Yeah.
Yes, both. Yes, my co-authors are wonderful.
Well, Olga's
Every
here,
book.
and I think she stepped out for a moment. But I want to bring the women back together because we've had so many women asked to be a part of a book, and they didn't make it into this one. So I'll be sending you all an email this weekend. Powerful female immigrants, if you want to be a part of this again. In fact, there's a medical doctor, and she's in Laredo, Texas. She's a nephrologist, kidney doctor, and she just hired us to ghostwrite her book. In fact, McGenna from Powerful Female Immigrants connected us, and she's going to be a part of this book as well. She's originally from Nigeria. But I think it's so amazing, the threads of our lives and the way as our life matures, right? And our kids grow up and they move away and they break our heart because they don't come home for Christmas, and then they go build their family and all these things start happening. I think books are that way. I can look at the lifespan of books, and normally a book kind of goes like this, or if I'm out there talking about it or doing a series, it starts building a life of its own and growing. I remember asking Mark Victor Hansen once, selling 500 million chicken soups for the soul. And I can remember when he and Jack Canfield launched that back in the 90s. I was going to college and listening to them on the radio before school. And they were doing 600 radio interviews every year. And they launched that series before the internet. And I said, how'd you do it? And he said, we just kept talking about it. He said, we just kept talking, telling our story. But the thing was, we got other people talking about it. And I like to say it like this. It's one thing for you to talk about your book, but ask yourself this Christmas, what can I do to get other people talking about me? Go donate 10 books to your local library. Go donate 10 books to your local Little League, Junior Achievement, or your Scout Troop or your Little League. And then do a story, do a press release on it and put it in the local news. That right there. I mean, Michael Hill reached out to his local newspaper, got the story, then got the media interview, went and did a book signing. It's a matter, well, Dee said, I said, Dee, how do you get all these book signings? In fact, I'll share the link in the follow-up. There's going to be a lot in the follow-up email because I love you guys so much. And, we learn a lot how to do things by doing wrong things. Tom says when he did the Harry Moon series, he spent $2 million of his own money figuring out how not to do it. So we got great things ahead. I just want to get the family together because you all feel like family to me. You can call me. If you go to voicemail, I try to call you back, and I really care about you, and our whole team cares about you. I hope you feel that way. So if you go to our Google listing on Google, Beyond Publishing, there's 2 now, San Antonio and Dallas, and leave us a review. Now, sometimes Google, sometimes the review will stick. Sometimes it's not muddy enough and it doesn't stick or whatever. But if you're able to leave a review, if you're able to leave a review at a restaurant, then you should be able to leave a review at your publisher. I'm going to do 2 things. I'm going to let you pick 3 of your favorite hardcovers from the Beyond Library, and I'm going to ship those to you before Christmas.
Wow.
3 hardcovers. In addition to that, I'm going to go into the link where you said how awesome Beyond Publishing was. And I'm going to say, Michael Heel, it was such a pleasure working with you. So proud of your interviews and your book signings. And I'm going to share the buy now link from Barnes & Noble or Amazon, whichever one you prefer. And I'm going to put that in the comment thread so people will see it and can go buy your book directly, okay? Or I can use your direct website. So like when Tom left a review, I did the Harry Moon website. So I can use your website to send them to your website. So if that's a good idea, go Google Beyond Publishing, Frisco, Texas, Beyond Publishing, San Antonio, Texas. And if you write a review for San Antonio and Dallas, I'll send you 6 hardcover books. That's what I'll do because it's crazy around here. It's getting crazy. It's Christmas time. Merry Christmas. Ho, 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 ho. My kids, I was such a good dad when they were young. I just spoiled them. Well, listen, this was a fun night. And hopefully we got everybody in that wanted to say something. Does anybody have a closing thought that you weren't able to say, but you wanted to say something either? What was your favorite Christmas or something you wanted us to be left with?
I can't go.
Yeah, go, Michael.
Go ahead. No, let the tachometer guy or the car guy go first.
Go, Dennis.
I just thought this was a blast. I really enjoyed it, and I've been making notes on some of the ways that the people here have been promoting themselves. You know, I'm a tech guy, and I'm actually pretty introverted, so these things don't come naturally to me. And so this has been awesome. Thank you, everyone, and Michael for doing this. I had a great time.
Hey, it was a fun time. It was a fun time, guys. I see Charla waving her hand, so go ahead, Charla.
Yeah, one other thing that I've done on sort of a tchotchke, I got little stretchy armbands. I thought I had some that I could show you, but they're in the other room. But there's a group called the Wristband Guys. They're cheap. And I got green ones that match the Frogville books and blue ones that match the business book. The Frogville ones say Frogville Quest, Follow Lily. And I give those out to people. And I think so far, almost everyone I've given an armband to has bought a book for a kid.
I tell you what, Lily, if you got a gift from Lily Gilwood, that's a big deal. That is a big freaking deal, right? So thank you for sharing that, Charlotte. Michael, go ahead.
I was going to say, my book here, The Best Views of Heaven or from Hell, are about my uncle and his part on the invasion of D-Day. It's very personal. The interview is not the greatest on YouTube, but it was cut down from about 4.5 hours down to like an hour and 40 minutes. But when I was in the Air Force, I managed to, develop some great friendships. And there's a couple that I count as my adoptive parents. Now, I'm not adopted. They live in Janesville, Wisconsin. And Barb called me last night and she said, I'm going to buy 20 books, ship them to me, and she's going to donate them to a local thrift store that supports veterans. And so she's like, you got to sign every one of them. So that was a nice thing to have happen last night. So
that is epic. That is epic. The magic starts happening when we talk about it. And I almost forgot because sometimes I forget to talk about ourselves. But we have 348 kids in Pakistan, 1040 Impact right here, and we got a full-time staff of about 17 people that care for them 24/7. And 57 of those kids that we rescued from Afghanistan after the Allied forces in the U.S. pulled out. And those were kids whose parents were so desperate they sold them. And so we bought them, got them medical care, got them psychiatric care and spiritual care, and are feeding them, clothing them, taking care of them. They have sponsors, but we're a little short on Christmas. So in the email I send you tomorrow, you can go directly to 1040impact.org and you can donate $10 or $40 or $100. It'll make a difference. What they're getting is they're getting a new pair of shoes, a warm pair of clothes, and a new blanket, because that's a huge Christmas for them. It's a big deal. And they all sleep on the floor. They don't have beds. They're sleeping on the floors. And when you go to the website, you'll see some of the pictures, and that would be a big blessing. But Dr. Steve, it was great to have you here tonight. Your book, Falling Asleep to the Sound of Rain, for somebody that gets, the news from the doctor that says you're terminal, what advice, when did you get that news? How old were you? And how long ago was that? And then what advice would you give to somebody that maybe got that news this week?
Well, I'll say hug your loved ones every single day. Never miss opportunity to say I love you. And try to forgive people and move on in your life. Like I'm an immigrant from Pakistan where 40 years ago I was religiously persecuted and tortured. And that's how, since I got married to my wife who was a Catholic, and that's why I was prosecuted. So you know what kind of country that is. And 40 years ago, it was much
Been
more
there many
backward.
times.
Yeah. So just love everybody. Don't judge anybody, because the only person who can judge us is God.
Wow. Wow. That's the most profound thing I've heard in a long time. So thank you. Wow. This is what it's all about. My neighbors invited me over for Christmas when they heard my family's going to Korea to be with my stepdaughter, and I said, "Thanks, that's very nice of you. I'm going to go to Oklahoma and be with my biological family." But it's good to have people around, and if you don't have somebody around, then invite people over. I've always been that way. I've always been the guy that would bring people home to mom's house and say, "Look who I brought home. Look who's staying with us." So I just want you to know we're thinking about you. And if you need anything, you have my number. And let's do some fun, big things, some impactful things together. And the money will follow. People say, "How do I make money selling books?" Talk about it, get other people talking about it, be excited, but also plant some seeds. And when you plant some seeds, the miracles start happening, and you'd be surprised that somebody will come back to you years from now and say, "You know what? I read your book and it changed my life." Yes, food is what brings people together. Yes, I agree, Michael. I agree very much. It was great to see all of you tonight. Raisa, thanks for joining us. Thanks for your comment. Thanks all of you for being with us. And I will connect you all via email as well so we can follow each other on social, okay? And by the way, if I don't have your Instagram and your Facebook, go ahead and friend me on Instagram, message me on Instagram and Facebook. I want to connect everybody together so we can keep these conversations going. And Jim Cathcart says, "Sorry to have missed it." Well, Jim, we missed you and we talked about you. But I know Jim has some exciting news, so we definitely will be bringing him back. And so thank you, everyone. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and be watching the emails because we'll be doing more of these as we get closer into the new year, okay?
Merry Christmas,
Merry
everybody.
Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you. God bless.
God bless.
Good night.